station of Fox Sports.
We are Fox. We are Detroit.
Tigers baseball on Fox Sports Detroit is presented by Bell Tire. After a day off yesterday, Maglio Ordonez is back in the Tigers lineup, and in the nick of time, the Tigers will need all the bats they can get in this series. Maglio batting .341 career against Texas Rangers pitching. It is a cloudy but nice day nonetheless here at Comerica Park as we get you ready for baseball this afternoon. Game 1 in this series featuring the Texas Rangers and your Detroit Tigers. Hi again, everyone. Welcome to Tigers Baseball. Mario and Pemba, glad to have you with us. Game 1 in the series against the Rangers. Rod Allen will join us momentarily. Now, the Tigers really couldn't get it going offensively against Kansas City. The hope is that they will do it here against the Texas Rangers. One guy, though, that is red hot would be Johnny Peralta. The Tigers shortstop had a terrific series against KC, going 6-4-11. And really, when you compare his numbers this year through 8 games last year, the average is up, the hits are up, the strikeouts are down, and Johnny Peralta off to a terrific start this year for the Detroit Tigers. Meanwhile, the Texas Rangers, they have the best pitching in baseball numbers-wise, so it'll be a challenge. That's the story here from Comerica Park. Game 1 coming up. In the meantime, we go to the Call Sam Studios now, and here's John Keating. This afternoon, the Texas Rangers are in town. By the way, if Detroit combines for 3 or more home runs in this game, bring a copy of the box score to a participating Arby's location tomorrow. Get a free small order of curly fries. You can get the box score at foxsportsdetroit.com. TexAsDet.com. Well, it is an interesting day weather-wise. It looks like the rain has moved out. It is very cloudy here, but one thing we have noticed, Rob, boy, the wind is blowing out to left. If you are sitting in the left field bleachers today, you are on high alert.
Well, and the Texas Rangers have 18 home runs as a team, and the Tigers starting pitchers have given up quite a few this year, which means Verlander must keep the ball down and keep these Rangers in the ballpark.
And hopefully Miguel Cabrera will have a big day today for the Tigers. Austin Jackson will get the afternoon off, and Justin Verlander, as we normally see, has his game face on, and he is ready to go. Here is the starting lineup for the visiting Texas Rangers, and it is brought to you by your Metro Detroit Chevy dealers. Ian Kinsler leads it off. He'll play second base. Elvis Andrus is batting second and short. Josh Hamilton is in left field, and Adrian Beltre is their cleanup hitter. Michael Young, the designated hitter these days. Nelson Cruz in right. And their bottom three features Moreland at first, Torrealba catching, and Julio Borbon is batting ninth and playing in center field. Here is the scouting report on Mr. Justin Verlander, presented by Scott's Lawn Pro.
Well, Verlander simply is one of the best right-handed pitchers in the game of baseball, and I guess the definition for a guy like Verlander would be a legitimate number one pitcher. And one of the things that he must do, which they've had a difficult time of doing at the beginning of this season, getting the ball to Benoit and Valverde at the back end of the game. That will be Verlander's challenge here today. But one thing he has done very well, he has dominated the Texas Rangers in his career, 6-1, with a earned run average over 2. So Verlander's been real good against them. Let's take a look at how the Tigers will line up defensively. It's always presented by Beaumont Hospitals. A well-placed day off for the youngster Austin Jackson. Kelly is in center field. The infield reads Inge, Peralta, Rhymes, and Cabrera, and Avila is behind the plate. He is putting down the signs for Verlander and did a masterful job of that 5 days ago when Verlander was simply spectacular against the Baltimore Orioles.
And we know that Justin Verlander, the book has been a rocky April technically in his career, 06 to 010. You see the numbers in ERA of over 5, but this year, Ron, after 2 starts, he has improved those numbers dramatically.
Different guy. I think he has matured. I think he went into spring training this year on Valentine's Day with a purpose, and that was to be better and to be ready to go from the word go, which he has been this year. And he's one of the best in the game, as we know, once April turns its corner.
So Verlander will be tested today by a very good offensive team. The Texas Rangers are coming to town. They are 8-1, and they lead the American League West, off to their best start in franchise history, actually tying their best start after 9 games.
This has been the best team in baseball.
Well, here is Kinsler, who's off to a .250 start, but he's been hitting some home runs, a total of 4 already this year. It'll be Kinsler and then Andrus and then Josh Hamilton. Tigers a 3-game series here as they begin to wind down their homestand. Verlander ready to go to work. And here's our first pitch of the ball game. Ian Kinsler takes it right down the middle to strike a fastball from Verlander. Kinsler, a good combination of power and speed, was a 30-30 man a couple of years ago in 09. And he hammers that one foul back out of play. No balls and 2 strikes.
Verlander coming out with a really firm fastball at 95. He knows the conditions today. He knows the wind's blowing out to left at a pretty crisp pace. Therefore, he doesn't want to make any mistakes with the breaking ball. When he throws them, he'll have to make sure he gets them down and away from some of the powerful right-handed bats.
The 0-2 is outside. They want the appeal, but they won't get it. 1-2 on Ian Kinsler. His 4 home runs, the second highest total in the early going here in the major leagues. And that's hammered down the left field line, but foul.
Kinsler is a dead pull hitter. And right field somewhat foreign to Ian Kinsler. If he ever learns how to utilize right field a little bit more effectively, especially with 2 strikes, his batting average will creep up around 300.
Not too many holes in this Texas lineup. Top to bottom, they are very solid. Verlander missing away. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Now the Tigers need a big game out of their ace today. They dropped 2 out of 3 against the Kansas City Royals. And Ron Washington, who led his team to the World Series last year, well, they're off to a terrific start. Now the 2-2. In the air to shallow left. Brendan Bosch is there, and 1 gone. So Verlander retires the first man he faces, and that'll bring up the shortstop Elvis Andrus. What a player this is turned into. Elvis Andrus, of course, came over the Mark Teixeira deal a couple of years ago, and now it looks like Texas has the starting shortstop for a long time.
He's one of the best shortstops in the American League. I mean, really nice two-way player.
Off to somewhat of a slow start this year. He's batting just .214 coming in. And he takes strike one.
Texas off to one of their better starts in recent memory, and they've got several guys that really haven't been clicking yet. You brought up Andrus as being one. Hamilton really hasn't gotten loose yet, nor has Adrian Beltre. But yet, they're the best team in all of baseball. They come in 8-1. Their pitchers' earned run average is lower than anybody else's in the American League.
Well, and that's what's somewhat surprising. You think of this Rangers team as a team that just pummels you to death, but it's been their pitching that has really done a great job in the early going. As you mentioned, the best in the AL. And that hasn't always been the case in Texas.
No, it has not. Mike Maddox is the pitching coach, and he's been there for a few years now. Boy, has he done marvelous work with their staff.
1-2 on Elvis Andrus. And the breaking ball is a dandy. First strikeout of the game for Verlander.
That's the pitch that separates Verlander from most power pitchers. Most power pitchers, they've got a secondary pitch, but it's not as lethal as this pitch. It locks the knees of young Elvis Andrus, and this is what Verlander can do, and he can throw that pitch in any count with that same kind of depth. Tremendous weapon for him.
Now you see it, now you don't. Andrus retired. Here is Josh Hamilton with 2 outs. Hamilton has hit safely in his last 6. And pretty good numbers career against the Tigers, off to a .314 start this year. And quickly Verlander ahead, 0-2.
Josh Hamilton is probably the best all-around player in the game of baseball. He can do everything, and he can do everything above average. Run, throw, hit for power, hit for average, and a stellar defender.
Here's the 0-2 pitch. 1-2 on Josh Hamilton. Well, last year, of course, a terrific season for Hamilton, but this guy's really elevated his game, and he loves hitting at Comerica Park. .343 in 10 games here. He's gone deep twice, and he waves and misses. Verlander carves him up, and JV strikes out a pair in the first. The old changeup gets Josh Hamilton, and the inning is over. Look lineup today, and it's presented to you by Big Boy. You just saw Will Rhymes. He will lead off for the first time this year, playing second base. Bosch in left, Maglio is in right. You've got Miguel cleaning up, Martinez and Kelly, and then Peralta, Avila, and Inge are your bottom 3. The Bernstein advantage Brings you the scouting report on Alexi Ogando of the Texas Rangers. Get the Bernstein advantage. We go to bat for you.
Well, last year he was setting up for Neftali Feliz in that Texas Rangers bullpen, and he was marvelous at that. But now he finds himself in the starting rotation by and large because he has a powerful right arm, fastball in the mid-90s. All of his secondary pitches, for the most part, are very hard as well, which means he needs to start to learn how to command his off-speed pitches if he's going to have success as a starter long term.
And the first man to face him, Will Rhymes. It's a nice luxury to have if you're Ron Washington. You can pluck a guy like this out of your bullpen and make the emergency starts, and he may never leave the rotation if he continues to pitch well. But we'll see. Rhymes, Bosch, Ordonez. Just in case Rhymes is thinking of dropping a bunt, there's Beltre. There's a strike, 2-1.
Well, you don't want to mess with Adrian Beltre. If you're Rhymes and you're thinking about bunting, you may as well go the other way. Stay away from the former Gold Glove Award winner. He can pick it down there.
Rhymes slaps it foul back out of play. 2-2 on the Tigers leadoff man. Last year, the Tigers had Austin Jackson lead off 140 times. The only other players that led off last year were Rhymes, Rayburn, and Johnny Damon. And today, Austin gets his first day off.
He needed a day off, did Austin.
Low, 3-2.
Not bad to get a day off against a power for right-hander like Ogando. 95 with the fastball. Just kind of sit back, chill, eat some seeds, and enjoy the ball game.
3-2 pitch. In the air towards shallow left. Hamilton is under it.
Let's take a look at the remainder of the Texas Rangers defensively. You know, Hamilton is in left. Bourbon is in center. Nelson Cruz with a powerful throwing arm is in right. Beltre, Andrews, Kinsler, Moreland round out the infield. And Jorvit, Torrealba, is behind the plate.
A couple of members of the all-name team the last couple of days here. We had Kila Kaihue yesterday.
Yeah, and Jorvit.
Here's Bosch. Going after that first pitch again, 0-1 on Brennan.
You don't see Brennan batting too often in that number 2 slot, but that's exactly what Jim Leyden has elected to do today with Brennan. Get more at-bats, and he has swung the bat well at the beginning of the season.
Bosch was hitless in the series against KC, but he is still batting .308. 0-2.
Told you Ogando was in their bullpen last year, and he was one of your better setup men in all of baseball, probably second only to Joaquin Benoit, who the Tigers currently have in their bullpen. But as a starter, at least his first start, not all that bad.
Not at all. He is facing a little bit better of a lineup today, though, in the Tigers here this afternoon. The 0-2 is inside and low. Bosch has hit one home run that came at Yankee Stadium at the start of the season. He has 5 RBIs. Jim Leyland said before the game that he's pleased with the way he's gone about his business this year and handling the highs and lows, a little bit more of an even keel. Breaking ball is on the ground at first, where Moreland has it. 2 outs. It's going to bring up Maglio Ordonez.
Ron Washington and his staff had a decision to make in spring training regarding their closer now, Feliz, who was Rookie of the Year, and Ogando. They were entertaining the thought of moving Feliz to the starting rotation, but Ron Washington told me before the game that he felt like with a young rotation, the back end of the bullpen, they really needed Feliz there. They didn't trust Ogando, not necessarily with that closer's role, so Ogando gets the start and Feliz stays put.
That's a good point. And he was certainly instrumental, Feliz that is, in getting them to the World Series last year.
I remember Jim Leyden was talking about that last year in a conversation one day, how he preferred to have that dominant closer over that dominant starting pitcher.
Here's the 1-1 to Maglio. Well, I don't know where you fall in that argument or that debate, but it seems like it's always 50-50. Some people like that dominant starter. The others want the closer.
I'll take the closer.
Will you?
Nothing more demoralizing than to get to the back end of a game when the game is on the line and have your bullpen blow that for you. But there's only a few dominant starters around. JV would fall into that category.
High fly ball center field, routine for Bourbon. And both starters today begin it with a 1-2-3 inning. We head to the second at Comerica Park. Is brought to you by Comerica Bank. Strength and stability since 1849. Dodge. Visit Dodge.com or see your local Dodge dealer today. And by Arby's Junior Buffalo Chicken Sandwich, new to Arby's Value Menu. Hurry, available for a limited time only. Back here at Comerica Park, we started the game with a three-man umpiring crew. But it appears that Mr. Welke now has returned. Tim Welke is back on the field at second base.
The Welke brothers live close by, don't they?
They do. They're from the area. In fact, Tim's son Greg is a pitcher on the Oakland University baseball team.
Well, Tim must have had the day off, and he thought he was going to get a chance to spend it at home, but pressed into duty today in place of Jeff Kellogg.
Adrian Beltre. He's leading it off against Verlander. It'll be Beltre, Young, and Cruz. Verlander's 2-0 pitch. Lifted back out of play. I know it's cloudy and overcast today, Rob, but these are somewhat ideal conditions here. It's not too hot, not too cold.
Good day to play. No doubt about that.
Two and one. Way inside as Beltre spins out of there. Well, he is their cleanup man this year. So Beltre off to a slow start, 189, as Michael Young waits his turn on deck. Verlander's 3-1. Make it 3-2.
Hit 321 with 28 home runs, and drove in 100 for the Boston Red Sox, and he parlayed that into a new 5-year deal with his new club. He also had 49 doubles.
High drive hit well into right center field. This ball is tagged. Kelly, though, is going to circle under it as it might have gotten caught a little bit in that crosswind and died down. One away. That'll bring up Michael Young, who, of course, was in the news, it seemed like, the entire offseason. And Ken Rosenthal from FoxSports.com talked about some of the comments that he made. And Michael said, "I'll be the first to admit that I was not particularly keen on the idea of being a DH, but I did agree to it, and I put the team first." And I think that there was a lot of talk about him being traded and all that. And he felt that he was being misled and manipulated. And for a guy that's been with the organization for a while, they have found a spot for him, but I'm not sure that Michael Young prefers to DH.
He's a pro, though. He will do whatever it takes to help his club win.
It's line to right field for Maglio, and they're going to get Young 2 outs. Well, he's a guy that gives you 200 hits a year.
He is the heart and soul of their team, and he is their leader. Make no mistake about it. And when he's on the field, they tend to play their best baseball.
So Verlander has retired 5 straight. Bring up the powerful Cruz, who leads the majors with 5 home runs already. And Verlander stays away from him. 1-0.
Cruz missed 54 games last year and was on the disabled list with the same ailment, a hamstring injury. If they can keep him healthy, he's a legitimate MVP candidate hitting in that ballpark.
Yeah, he really is, but it had to be frustrating for them last year, because here's a guy that can drive the ball out of the park, can be a very good run producer, but 3 separate trips to the DL. That hamstring, boy, those things just always seem to linger. Here's the 1-1. And really, Rod, it's not like this guy was a big-time performer in the big leagues for so many years. He kind of came out of nowhere a couple of years ago. Had a big year in AAA.
He's what you would call a late bloomer. He's always had the physical skills, but finally put it together under Ron Washington.
Verlander fires a strike right at the knees. 2-2.
Well, apparently on the 2-1 pitch, Cruz was looking for something soft, and there's no way that you could hit Verlander's fastball if you're sitting on an off-speed pitch.
That fastball was high and out of the zone. 3-2 on Cruz, with Mitch Moreland waiting on deck.
And here's where Verlander has the ability to get you out a couple different ways. He can go curveball, he can go change, he can go cheese.
High fly ball to right. And Maglio gets under it. We got him with a fastball in a 1-2-3 inning. Broadcasting to U.S. Armed Forces serving in 175 countries and aboard ships at sea. They're watching around the world in Iraq, Germany, Italy, Southwest Asia, South Korea, and Japan. We welcome all of you, and we thank you for your service. You can see it's a very windy afternoon here. Old Glory is flapping out there in the wind in left field. Alexio Gondo back to work. He faces Miguel Cabrera. How about 358 career against Texas pitching? And he lines for the right. Inside out swing, and the Tigers have their first hit.
That's what Cabrera can do, a guy that throws 95 miles an hour. He's not necessarily trying to pull the baseball. He knows the plan of attack against guys like these are simply get his hands inside the ball, as you mentioned, and hit something the other way. And as a right-handed hitter, no one hits the ball to right field any harder than Miguel Cabrera does.
There's some proof in his hits by direction.
Well, that's how you hit 320 in and above when you use foul line to foul line.
Here's Victor Martinez. Victor DHing today.
Ogando's got a fastball in the mid-90s, also a slider. That last pitch to Victor Martinez. He also throws a split-fingered fastball, and he also has a changeup. The majority of his pitches are power pitches, but he's trying to learn the finer points of pitching in the rotation.
Ogando is an interesting story in how he got to the big leagues. He was in the A's organization. It was a lanky outfielder with a good arm and was an okay hitter, but Rangers director of player personnel A.J. Preller saw him on one of the backfields in Arizona one day as an outfielder and thought to himself, I wonder if this guy would be a good pitcher. He has great arm strength. And so they drafted him in the Rule 5 draft, and here he is, and now he's got a chance to be a good one.
That's great observation. There are a few guys sprinkled around baseball that started at a position and then have ended up on the mound.
But I think, Rod, it's also a good indication of how you're playing for every organization, really, because you're always being watched by other teams, not just yours.
Yes, that's right.
And you never know how it can turn out down the road. 1-2 on Martinez. Well, Victor in that series against KC was 2 out of 10.
Tigers didn't do a whole lot of hitting in that series the last couple of days.
The bats woke up a little bit late yesterday, but that seemed to be a little bit tardy for them. They were manhandled by Bruce Chen in that series. Of course, the errors hurt yesterday as well. Swing and a miss, and Martinez goes down on strikes. One away, and our April in the D doubleheader continues tonight when the Pistons close out their home schedule against the Cleveland Cavaliers. We'll be back tomorrow, game 2 in this series against the Rangers. For a complete April in the D telecast schedule, check it out online at foxsportsdetroit.com. And don't forget the Wings Wednesday night, game 1. As they begin their quest for the Cup. Here's Don Kelly. Ball 1 to Kelly, who's playing out in center field today for Austin Jackson, batting in the 6 hole for Jim Leyland.
Adrian Beltre is playing about 20 feet off that third baseline. Most left-handed hitters do not slice balls directly down the third baseline. Therefore, Beltre taking away that shortstop hole from Don Kelly.
It's about as far as I've seen someone off the bag at third base, unless it's facing a guy like Jim Thome where they put the shift on.
Yeah, it's almost like they have a shift on Kelly, who's not known as being a power hitter or a pull hitter unless Texas knows something we don't know.
Here's a 2-0 pitch. Right back up the middle into center on a line, but it's caught. It hung up there for Bourbon. Hit it hard, 2 gone.
That's funny because they were playing him to pull on the infield, and Bourbon, the center fielder, had him shaded the opposite way. Andrews, the shortstop's up the middle. You see the center fielder. He's on the shortstop side of second base, and Kelly hits the ball right into the defense. I'd say that's pretty good coaching there.
Sure is. So Kelly is not rewarded with hitting the ball hard. Here's Johnny Peralta. Breaking ball is in for a strike on Peralta. Big series against KC, 6 for 11. Johnny coming out of the chute, swinging the bat. 3 for 4 yesterday, homered in the ball game. One ball, 1 strike. I think the Tigers learned a lot about Johnny Peralta when they got him for the final couple of months of last season. It's one thing to see a player from afar on the other side, but when you have him day in and day out, they realize he was a very steady defender and maybe a little bit of a better offensive player than I guess some expected. He drove in a lot of runs for the Tigers.
He's a pro. And when they got him, Brandon Inge was on the disabled list. Peralta played third. First few games, they moved him to shortstop, and he proved that he could still play that position. Doesn't have the greatest range of all the shortstops in the major leagues, but what he gets to, he catches, and he has an accurate throwing arm.
Bouncing ball left side. Beltre scoops it up. He'll take the short out at second base. Tigers are done. You're watching Tigers baseball today on Fox Sports Detroit, presented by Bell Tire. In club history, making it to the World Series, Neftali Feliz the final out. Ron Washington excited, so are the rest of the Rangers. Happy, happy, joy, joy, and for the first time in franchise history, the Rangers go to the World Series, where they would eventually fall to the champion Giants, but a tremendous season nonetheless for Texas. And I guess rather serving notice that they have some plans on getting back to the postseason this year. Unfinished
business, and that's the way that they're going about it. Led by Ron Washington, who is a very good manager. His coaching staff is tremendous. They've got really good players. They've got a well-rounded team. They've got speed, they've got defense, they've got power, and they've got pitching. They're a lot better than a lot of people thought they were going to be.
I agree. I think their pitching has come out and has showed, at least early on this season, that they are better than most people thought, even though they lost lead. Verlander back to work. Mitch Moreland the batter. It'll be Moreland to be followed by Torrealba and then Bourbon.
Not only did they lose Lee, but they elected not to sign Vladimir Guerrero,
who was really instrumental in driving their offense.
He drove in 115 runs for them last year and was a real leader of guys like Andrews and Bourbon and some of the other younger Latin players that they have.
You see the wind ruffling the uniforms here this afternoon. That will certainly, I think, before it's over, play a part in this game. 1 ball, 1 strike on Mitch Moreland. Missing high, 2-1.
Verlander has doing something today that I haven't noticed a lot of the Tigers starting pitchers do all season, and that's pitch inside aggressively with a purpose, making guys move their feet. I think the Kansas City Royals racked up 15 hits yesterday, and I didn't see one guy move his feet from an inside fastball.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I guess that was the case. Awfully comfortable in the batter's box. 2-2 on Moreland, batting .300 to start this season, and a breaking ball pulled foul. Moreland joined the team with about a couple of months to go in the season last year, and look what he did in the playoffs.
Nice contribution.
I would say so. 462, 7 driven in. 2-2 pitch. It's popped up shallow left. Bosch is on the run. So is Inge. And Inge almost got there. Boy, that would have been a fabulous play. Sliding in foul ground. He almost got to that ball. He'll get a round of applause just for the effort.
Too much wind. And we've seen Brandon make this play, but this ball just continued to tail and tail and tail, and ultimately out of the reach of Brandon. And Panasonic Foxmo giving us a tremendous look at that play.
So Moreland is still breathing in this at bat. And again, the 2-2. Just about the same area, but this one will find the seats. Moreland also had a very good spring this year for Texas. He hit .403. And he got it. Fastball to 96 to strike him out. Time for a game break now. We go back to the studio and let's check in with John Keating.
I've got the refrigerator stocked for you, Jonathan, with some groceries.
Glad you guys have that all worked out. That's nice. That's in the air to center field. Kelly is on the run. And still going, and there are two gone. The palatial Rod Allen pad will be hosting some of the boys then, huh? That'd be great.
Yeah, I'll have to tell my wife they're coming.
You gonna let them use your car, too?
They can have whatever they want.
Easy. They'll take it. Two gone, and here is Julio Bourbon. Bourbon hitting .222.
And lots of infield singles last year, second only to Ichiro Suzuki in the American League. So if you're the Tigers infielders and you see where they're placed right now, both up the middle, Peralta and Rhymes, they're about 5 feet in front of the cut of the grass because of the ability of Bourbon to hit the ball on the run and get base hits.
Popped up a bunt right at Cabrera. And it's another 1-2-3 inning for Justin Verlander. 9 up, 9 down. What a start.
Hotter Tigers hitters the last week or so. He has homered 3 times in that span, and one of the reasons why he's generating so much power is he's thinking about hitting the ball with aggression and catching it out in front early in counts. And Alex has pretty good power.
Well, it's time now for our Farmers Insurance report card on Mr. Avila. Through 7 games this season, he is second on the team with 3 home runs and 8 RBIs. And the guy that's leading him is a pretty good player, Cabrera. So he's gotten off to a nice start. And of course, Alex, in the first couple of games of the season, really kind of struggled a bit. But he's gotten more and more comfortable now.
Nice luxury to have if you could sit Alex where he's sitting in the batting order, 8th.
Pop in the bottom of the lineup. Avila, Inge, and then Will Rhymes facing Ogando. Back out of play, no balls and 2 strikes. Ogando getting an opportunity to start with Tommy Hunter suffering a groin injury, and so after that first start, impressing Ron Washington. And we'll see if he continues to get opportunities. If he pitches well, then the answer to that question is probably yes. 1-2. He's out of San Pedro in the Dominican Republic. 1-2 on Avila. Backed him out of there, 2-2. There's Brandon waiting on deck. Swing and a miss, and he chased. Second strikeout.
Pretty hard to catch up with the fastball at 94 at the letters. That ball is right by most hitters. It looks good, but most guys can't catch up to that pitch.
What kind of cheese was that? Cheddar?
Cheddar.
Here's Inge.
So far, Ogando has shown a very nice feel in this game for his secondary pitches. We just saw the fastball, but he has demonstrated the ability to throw first pitch strikes with his breaking ball, too.
Well, up until last year, he was not allowed to pitch in the United States in the minor leagues because of visa problems to get him into the country, and they finally got him in last year. So he was pitching a lot in the Dominican Summer League, honing his skills.
I believe that last pitch from Ogando was a changeup, and you could really see that he slowed his arm speed down on this pitch. As a hitter, you can pick that up. And you could just tell. The arm speed was so much slower than that pitch, for instance.
Well, he's racked up his 3rd strikeout. 2 up, 2 down. It has been a good pitching matchup here today. The Tigers have the game's only hit, a single by Cabrera back in the 2nd. Verlander has gone 9 up, 9 down. Here's Will Rhymes. Rhymes flied to left field back in the 1st. Strike 1. Will had a decent series against KC. It was 4 for 11. Got a mini 3-game hitting streak going. 1 ball, 1 strike. Bosch waiting on deck. Bouncing ball right side. Kinsler has it there, and Ogando with an easy 1-2-3. We go to the 4th at Comerica. No score. AT&T and by your neighborhood Spartan stores. For locations, check out turntospartan.com. Cloudy afternoon here at the ballpark. Pleasant day, though. The lights are on here at Comerica Park, and we have seen some pretty good pitching so far. Justin Verlander and Alexi Ogando hooked up in a good one, top of the fourth inning. And it'll be Ian Kinsler, the top of the order for Texas. Kinsler, Andrus, and Hamilton. Game one in a 3-game set against the West leading Rangers. Kinsler flied out. That was back in the first, and Verlander has given up a lot of fly ball outs in this game. Good news is they've either gone to center field or right field, with the wind blowing out to left today.
As firm as his fastball is, if he locates it where he wants to against the right-hander, it's very difficult for them to pull that pitch. Therefore, lots of fly balls in the direction you mentioned.
High towering fly ball to left. This time he pulled it but got under it, and Bosch is there.
Hey fans, Friday, April 22nd, the Tigers face the Chicago White Sox at 7:05. The first 10,000 fans receive an Austin Jackson figurine. For tickets, call 866-66-TIGER or log on to tigers.com.
Be on hand to add that to your collection. Austin Jackson getting the afternoon off today. He'll try and regroup, get his bat going. Here's Andrus, who struck out in the first inning. And he bounces one right back to Verlander. Nice play by JV. 2 gone. How about we get our trivia question in here, courtesy of AT&T. As big Josh Hamilton comes strolling in. Here's your question. Name the last 2 teammates for the Texas Rangers to win the MVP and Rookie of the Year in the same season. Of course, that was before last year when Hamilton was MVP and Neftali Feliz was the Rookie of the Year. Prior to last season, who were the last pair of Rangers to do that?
It's almost like you have to go to the postseason these days to get those awards at the end of the year.
Yeah, and I'm not a fan of that either. I think you're right. I think that certainly carries some weight. 1 ball, 1 strike. The voting last year, 358 to 262. That's how far Cabrera fell behind Hamilton, and then there was Robinson Cano.
All 3 had tremendous years, and all 3 are superior major league players.
Swing and a miss.
Verlander has that real nice change piece working against Hamilton. He struck Hamilton out with this exact same pitch. Arm speed, circle change.
Flared in the air, left field line. Here comes Bosch, and foul ground. Out of room. 2 rows back. One and 2 on Hamilton.
Hamilton playing left field these days. Ron Washington told me before the game that his goal is to put him in left so he doesn't have to play center field and run all over the place. They're trying to keep him healthy. He has landed on the disabled list the last couple of years.
And that's pulled into right field. It'll drop in. A base hit, the first hit of the game for the Texas Rangers after 11 straight had been retired.
Well, maybe one off-speed pitch too many. Changeup he struck him out with the first time up, and he's got a swing and miss on a changeup, and that time he comes back with a breaking ball, and Hamilton with real good balance stays back, keeps the hands back, and still able to generate some bat speed.
First time Verlander has been in the stretch.
Ron Washington also told me before the game that he has 5 players, 5 of them, in his starting lineup today that have the green light to steal a base.
Really? Grounded back up the middle. No chance here as Rhines flips to Peralta. Inning over. No runs, a hit, 1 left. Bottom of the 4th coming up. Two teammates for the Texas Rangers to win the MVP and Rookie of the Year in the same season. And you got to go back to 1974. Jeff Burroughs was the MVP. And how about Mike Hargrove? He was the Rookie of the Year that year.
The human rain delay.
That's a great question. And so there you go. Hogando back to the hill. Human rain delay. He was, man. Was there anybody slower than Mike Hargrove?
There was no one slower getting into that batter's box and taking time in between pitches. He's one of the reasons why they got the speed up rule these days.
Yeah. Well, whatever it takes to upset the pitcher. Brennan Bosch leading it off. Brennan is 0 for 1. He grounded out back in the first. Bosch, Ordonez, Cabrera.
And Mike Hargrove started. He was a pretty good manager too. Turned out to be a real good skipper. Cleveland, Seattle.
The 1-1. Luke foul back out of play. Maglio waiting on deck. He'll bat second in this inning. Neither team has been able to figure out the opposing starting pitcher. Verlander, in fact, has thrown just 48 pitches through 4 innings. That's pretty good. It's really good. The 1-2. And again, Beltre is way off the line at third base. Here's the 2-2 pitch. Stayed away, 3-2. Ogando has been clocked in the upper 90s. That last fastball at 94. A tall, lanky sort, 6'4", 195 out of the Dominican Republic. Roll to first base, foul.
Well, you can tell that he really slows his arm speed down. I'm going to bring it up one more time on his changeup. And that's because he's not comfortable throwing. Everything else, he's very fluid. I mean, real good arm speed. But on that changeup, he really slows it down. And if he doesn't improve on that, opposing teams are going to pick that up.
That was really noticeable on that last one. 3-2 pitch. Lost it. Ball 4.
Brennan Bosch is displaying some patience this year that he didn't really display last year. Let's take a look at our bell tire pitch by pitch. He starts him off with a couple of slow pitches. First one for a strike. The next one down. Then he comes hard stuff and goes back to soft. And Brennan, with a very, very good eye, takes the walk.
Third walk of the year for Bosch.
Tigers have not generated much offense the last couple of days. Bosch has the ability to steal a base, but I don't know what Jim is thinking here with the middle of his order coming to the plate.
I would think that really it doesn't matter who's batting in that 2 spot. If they get aboard, it's awfully tough for Jim to say, let's run some guys. When you've got Ordonez, and you've got Cabrera, then you got Martinez.
On most nights, I would agree with you, but when you're struggling to score runs, sometimes you just have to put some guys in motion. That's one of the reasons why they added Victor Martinez. Should teams choose to pitch around Cabrera, then you've got Victor Martinez there that could pick him up.
Maglio pops this one up. Shallow right. Kinsler back to the grass. Ordonez is retired. 1 away. That'll bring up Cabrera. Single back in the second, and that is the only Tigers hit so far. Breaking ball on the outside corner, 0-1.
I cannot believe how shallow Bourbon is playing in center field. He is got a lot of room behind him to cover. And Cabrera, if he gets a hold of one, he can cut through that wind that's blowing in from right field. Trust me.
Instead, it's pulled to left, hit well, and over the head of Josh Hamilton up against the wall. Bosch is headed to third base. He's in standing up. Tigers are in business now on the double by Cabrera.
One of the reasons why Cabrera is so dangerous is that he gets himself to a really nice balanced position as he collects his 300th career double. His legs are so stable, it allows his hands to be lightning quick through the zone. That ball is running in on him. It's off the plate inside, and he somehow short hops the wall 345 feet away from home plate. He is dangerous.
Tigers now with at least one double in 10 consecutive games and number 300 in the career of Cabrera. So now with only one out, golden opportunity for the Tigers to score first. First time the Tigers have had a man in scoring position. Martinez struck out back in the second. 3 for 7 this year with runners in scoring position.
We'll see how they attack Victor here with the base open. Don Kelly in the on deck circle with one out. No disrespect to Kelly, but they might pitch around Victor to set up the double play. That might be their best opportunity to get out of this inning without giving up a run.
Does that change at all if you get ahead of the hitter? He's 0-1 now. Would that change his thinking at all if he's thinking about pitching around?
Ogando?
Yeah.
It just kind of depends on what their method is. I don't know exactly what they're thinking. Maddox and Torrealba, the catcher. Maddox is the pitching coach.
Little pop up back short, and Andrus gets it. Cabrera is going to be doubled up. Miguel Cabrera was on his way to third base, and the rally fizzles. The run does not score as Bosch was breaking in from third base but didn't cross in time, so the Tigers are turned away. Tough break for the Tigers, and we remain scoreless. Top of the fifth inning now here at Comerica Park. Tigers have a couple of hits. Texas with only one hit against Justin Verlander, who in 4 innings hasn't walked anybody, and Justin has thrown just 48 pitches.
Well, he's pitching like he wants to pitch deep in this game. His career against Texas is one that he has dominated them, and he has dominated them so far through the first 4 innings of this contest.
So back to work he goes. Michael Young will be leading it off. And the first pitch floats in for ball 1.
And Michael Young gets the majority of his hits to the right side of the infield. That's why Cabrera is well off the line, taking away that hole. Maglio in right field is playing shallow, as is Kelly on the right side of second base as well.
He'll get back out of play. Verlander in the second year of his 5-year deal that he signed last February. The 1-1. 2 balls and 1 strike. So the Tigers have him locked up. He's a 3-time All-Star, in fact, including each of the last 2 seasons.
He will win a Cy Young or two before his career is over. He's got that kind of lights out stuff.
3-1. In the air, shallow center field. Rhymes back, Kelly in. Rhymes makes the play.
Hey fans, as soon as the game ends, our coverage continues with Tigers Live. We'll go to the clubhouse and hear from the manager, Jim Leland, and the players. Plus, we'll show you all the highlights. Tigers Live from the Coliseum Studios and here at the ballpark immediately after the game on Fox Sports Detroit.
One out for Nelson Cruz. Cruz flied out. That was to the right fielder's first time up. You know, for as impressive as Verlander's numbers have been against Texas overall, the really impressive thing is that he's made 3 starts at the ballpark in Arlington, Texas, where it's definitely a hitter's ballpark. And he's dominant there. And that's not easy to do. He's won all 3, and his ERA is just a little bit over 1.
His act looks good on the road as well.
The ball really flies, especially in the summer. That shot down the right field line, but foul.
Well, the majority of their hitters are right-handed batters.
Good
and
point.
Verlander can dominate a right-handed hitter. He's got 4 above-average major league pitches as we get a look at the numbers against Texas. He's got a plus fastball, plus changeup, plus curveball, excuse me, and a slider.
There's another fly ball. This one hit a ton to center field, though. Kelly is going to have room. Well, Verlander's getting a lot of outs in the air today. 2 away. The only hit he's allowed so far, the single by Hamilton in the 4th. There's Mitch Moreland. Rangers 18 home runs, leads the league. They are tied actually with the Yankees, who've also hit 18 home runs. There's a strike called, 0-1. And I would imagine once this season is over, those 2 teams will be near the top. In that category, they can really swing it for the power.
That's right.
Here's the 0-1.
Verlander pitching to the conditions this afternoon. And the majority of those flyouts have been to center field or right field where the wind is blowing in.
The hook misses outside.
There's proof of that. Looking at the flags.
There's another fly ball into right field. Ordonez cruising over along with Kelly, and Kelly comes over to make the play. Another 1-2-3 inning. You're watching Tigers baseball on Fox Sports Detroit, presented by Bell Tire. Pitching staff leads the American League in team ERA, and that's not a number we've usually associated with the Texas pitching staff.
He has done a magnificent job since he has been hired as their pitching coach.
And the numbers prove it as Don Kelly steps in facing Alexi Ogando. We're in the bottom of the 5th inning. No runs, 2 hits for Detroit. No runs, 1 hit for Texas. Kelly lined one to the center fielder his first time up, hit it hard, but came away with nothing. Pops this one up. Left side of the infield. Beltre is there. 1 out. Now Johnny Peralta. For 1 for Peralta. Rangers had a couple of guys that really joined the club later in the season that went on to help. We talked about Moreland. Ogando was another one. He didn't join the team until June and made 44 appearances on the year. And when you've got him right in front of Feliz, I mean, that's a pretty good 1-2 combination at the back end of your pen.
He was dominant. It was pretty much game over. They were playing 7-inning games last year.
Johnny chases and down he goes.
Both pitchers are doing a very nice job of elevating the fastball in the mid-90s on a very windy afternoon here at Comerica Park.
And that will leave it up to Avila, the 4th strikeout for Ogando. Alex 0 for 1. Avila now has hit in his last 4 straight games, and we talk about the improvement he has made offensively. Homered again yesterday, but I think equally impressive is how he's tightened it up defensively as well. His first couple of games against the Yankees, he really struggled with balls in the dirt. High fly ball, center field, right at Bourbon, and that is a 7-pitch inning for Alexi Ogando. No score through 5.
Here of Justin Verlander. We've talked about the curveball. We've also talked about the changeup, and we've also talked about the fastball. But the one thing that he does is he gives you the same arm speed on all 3 pitches. And that's one of the reasons why he strikes out better than 200 every single year.
And Verlander The pitches of 95 or more, he's thrown 12 of them so far. 61 total through 5 innings of work. So neither team is able to get the bats going to this point. Now Yorvit Torrealba leads it off. He'll be followed by Bourbon and then Kinsler. 8, 9, and 1, and Verlander has that nasty breaking stuff today.
He's filthy. He is absolutely filthy.
Here's another one, but it missed.
Verlander is one of those guys that, as good as the Texas Rangers were playing when they left the friendly confines of Arlington, when they looked on the schedule and they saw the Tigers, then as a player, the next thing you look for is to see where the rotation is and if you're going to see Justin Verlander or not. That's just what you do. And obviously they realized very quickly they were going to see Verlander here today.
Is this also one of those days where batters walk back to the bench and say, I can't help you? He's got all 3 working today. It is what it is.
He's one of those guys that the hitting coach talks about. You have to grind out at bats and you have to hope that he makes a mistake. Because if he's pitching the way that he's pitching and he's not making mistakes, he's just going to dominate you. His stuff is that good.
2-2 on Torrealba. Grounded foul.
Just like the Tigers on that road trip they go on to Oakland and Seattle, trust me, they're looking to see if they're going to see Felix Hernandez.
Yeah. And when.
And if.
And circle it on the calendar. Two and two. And a slow roller hit towards short. Sounded like he broke his bat. And one away on the ground out. Time for a game break. Back to the studio we go. Here's John Keating. You just might. You never know, Keats. Big basketball fans here. Here is Bourbon, who takes the ball outside. Bourbon popped up back in the third.
If he hits it on the ground, the infielder's got to hurry. He's got really good speed. And judging by his batting average so far this year at 211, he has not been taking advantage of his speed.
Bourbon had trouble defensively early in the season, especially opening day out there in center field. That's off the end of the bat. Brandon had him played nicely. Meanwhile, Verlander just continues to cruise along. It really began with that start in Baltimore where he looked dominant, and he's looked equally, if not more dominant today.
He was pretty good against the Yankees in his first start of the year on opening day. He did give up the 3-run home run to Teixeira. But other than that blemish, he wasn't bad at all against that lineup in that yard.
Probably not a coincidence either that the weather was better in his last 2 starts than in that first one, where he pretty much admitted it's really difficult in the brutally cold weather to control your secondary pitches. He falls behind Kinsler here, 1-0. Kinsler is 0 for 2. And he hits one on the ground to second. Rhymes on the backhand. Verlander, 3 ground ball outs. We go to the bottom of the 6th, and for the Tigers coming up, Brandon Inge. Just going to stare down the Texas pitching. tire, get the lowest tire price, period. Bell Tire. Windy afternoon, but a comfortable afternoon here at the ballpark today. A couple of Tigers fans, young Tigers fans, enjoying the action here this afternoon. Even younger. All bundled up. Probably not going to remember a whole lot about this game, but that's okay. Here come the Tigers now. Inge will lead it off. Inge and then Rhymes and then Bosch. Ogando and Verlander have both been really good today. Only 3 hits between the two teams. Inge couldn't pull the trigger. 0-1. Brandon struck out against Ogando back in the 3rd. Another breaking ball, misses this time. 1-1. Inge was 2 out of 11 in that series against KC. Pulls that one to 3rd, right at Beltre, who dips to a knee.
Hey fans, celebrate the start of the season with the Tigers spring ticket deal. $15 mezzanine seats are priced at only $10 for select games in April and May. For tickets, call 866-66-TIGER or visit tigers.com. $10 to see the Tigers. You can't beat that.
Pretty good deal.
Spring deal.
Leaves your wallet in pretty good shape.
Yes. Have a little money for a nice little beverage.
Or 2.
And a hot dog.
Here's Rhymes. What's your favorite ballpark food? I got to go with the hot dog. Nothing beats a dog at the ballpark.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm right there with you.
You know, we go out to the West Coast and got sushi and all that stuff at the ballpark. Just doesn't seem right.
That's for the bougie folks.
The what?
Bougie folks.
You know. You're going to have to fill me in on that one.
You know what the word bougie means, don't you? You know, you kind of think you all that.
There you go.
Yeah.
I kind of figured that's what it was.
More than what you really are.
1-1. All hat, no cattle. That's into center field, and Bourbon runs it down.
Bourbon plays very, very shallow, and he has taken away a couple of base hits. He had Rhymes play perfectly on this line drive, but trust me, if he continues to play this shallow for the next 3 days, he will get burned at some point. He's playing too shallow.
6 in a row set down by Ogando. We'll bring up Bosch.
But it also gives you an idea of the confidence that Bourbon has in his ability to go back on balls. He has a really good teacher in that Rangers dugout, Gary Pettis, who handles the outfielders and the base runners. He was a tremendous center fielder himself.
Yeah, when you talk about the list of outstanding defensive center fielders in recent history, Pettis is certainly on that list.
He could go get him.
Here's the 0-1. Well, as we get later and later into this game, we get back to something you talked about earlier. Who's going to make that first mistake? You know, you're waiting for one of these guys to make a mistake up there.
And there's some guys that can hit the ball at the ballpark on a hanging breaking ball, change up. But both guys have been on top of their games this afternoon. They've made very few mistakes. And both guys kind of realize, even though they're elevating the fastball, Verlander, we saw it in his last start against Baltimore, lots of breaking balls. Ogando, pretty good breaking ball today. When the hitters leave spring training, they're dialed in for the fastball. They can hit the fastball in spring training, but the breaking ball, that's a timing pitch, and it takes hitters to gather their timing the first 3 weeks of the season before they get locked in on that particular pitch.
High fly ball.
Look at the wind.
Right field playing this one. The wind is really making it tough, and the center fielder Bourbon comes in. Wow, the wind took that one, played with it a bit. Here comes Verlander again. Still no score. Andrews to begin things here in the 7th inning. Andrews, Hamilton, and Beltre. And there are some pretty good hitters in this lineup, including Andrews for the Rangers, that really have been no match for Verlander.
All right-handers, and Verlander pretty much throughout his career has dominated right-handed hitters.
Justin Verlander has surrendered just 1 hit so far in this game. He's retired 7 straight. Started the game by retiring 10 straight.
Elvis also one of those guys that can run on this Texas Rangers team. And the way this is going, the table setters might have to take over by trying a bunt or two.
Here's the 0-1. Aside from the no-hitter that Verlander threw in 2007, the lowest amount of hits that he had given up in a start was 3 against the New York Yankees this year in his first start, but that was only in 6 innings of work. And he has surrendered just a lonely single by Hamilton in this game. 1 ball, 2 strikes on Andrews. Breaking ball, and he just got a piece of it to stay alive. Elvis Andrus, only 22 years old, one of the bright young stars in baseball, made the All-Star team last year for the American League. Skies this one, another fly ball. This one's playable in center for Kelly. The 11th fly ball out that Verlander has got in this game.
I was talking to Thad Bosley before the game today, and I was asking him, what scouting report did you give your team on Verlander? And he said, well, he's a legitimate #1 pitcher. We just have to grind that at some at-bats, and if he makes a mistake, we have the kind of guys that can make him pay. But the one thing about this Texas Rangers team, Mario, is that Thad's a hitting coach this year. Clint Hurdle was the hitting coach last year, and they went to the World Series. And prior to the year that Hurdle took over, Rudy Jaramillo was there for a number of years. But the one constant is the players just continue to hit.
They have had some really, I mean, you look at some of the offenses they've rolled through Texas, really, really impressive.
I mean, Rudy Jaramillo was thought of as being one of the best hitting coaches in the game, and all Clint Hurdle does in his 1 year there before getting the Pittsburgh manager's job is march him to the World Series.
Meanwhile, Hamilton now has gone ahead 3-0. So Verlander is still only at 80 pitches here in the 7th.
Well, he's good for 110, 115.
Hamilton taking, and the count goes 3-1.
And I would say that's probably the biggest difference between the New York Yankees offense and the Texas offense is the Yankees offense, they take a lot more pitches.
Absolutely.
They're much more patient.
And there's a walk.
Hey, Tigers fans, it's easier than ever to find the seats you want or to sell the tickets to the games that you just can't make on StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the Detroit Tigers. Go to StubHub.com and choose your seats today.
Here's Adrian Beltre. It's a great day to take off work. Maybe leave a little bit early, come and watch the Tigers. And I'm sure a few of the folks here in the crowd have done that today. With or without the boss's knowledge. Hamilton has stolen once. You were mentioning that he is one of the guys that has a green light?
Yes. First 4 guys in their batting order have the green light. Kinsler, Andrews, Hamilton, Beltre, and believe it or not, Nelson Cruz also has the green light. And Ron Washington said that he will continue to give them the green light until they prove to him that they can't run in certain situations, and then he will take it off.
Hamilton last year was 8 out of 9 stolen base attempts. Roll to the left side. It finds a hole, a base hit. Only the second hit of the game now for the Rangers, and they have something going here with one out. And it brings up Michael Young.
Michael Young, despite the numbers that Verlander has posted against him, he's their most dangerous hitter for me. He's the guy, when there's runners in scoring position, that you least like to see coming to the plate.
Young being used as the DH today. He's also played second and first. And he drives one to right field. Hit well. Maglio is on the run. Still going back. He looks up. It's one hop off the wall. This will get a run in. Hamilton comes around to score. It's a double and an RBI for Michael Young. And that ball just kept going out to right field.
That's why he's dangerous. He gets a fastball at the top of the strike zone. He's not looking to pull the baseball. He doesn't strike out all that often, and he has the uncanny ability to drive in big runs. I mean, that ball is tailing inside on him, but you see the hands come inside the ball, barrel on the bat, over the head of Maglio.
Third RBI of the season for Young. Second and third, still only one out, and it's the Rangers that score first here in this one with a run in the seventh. Nelson Cruz takes low.
Here's where Justin needs a strikeout. One out. The defense is relaxed. They're giving up the run should Cruz hit something on the ground.
Cruz a couple of fly balls in this one, 0 for 2. One ball, one strike. One out walk started the rally. Hamilton walking, and then a single by Beltran, a double by Young. Rangers came in today with the 5th best batting average in the American League, 273. We mentioned they are tied for the lead in homers. Tigers right behind him, 6th in the American League in hitting. And now Avila wants time, and he'll trot out to the mound. Only the White Sox this year have scored more runs than Texas. 2-1 on Nelson Cruz. Now it's 3 balls and 1 strike. Cruz trying to pick up a couple of runners, Beltran and Young. Swing and a miss. JV overmatched him there. How about 98?
That might be his best fastball of the year, at 98 miles an hour.
Now the 3-2 pitch. Bouncing right back to the mound, knocked down by Verlander, comes home with it, and the tag is in time. Beltran is out at home plate. Verlander kept his wits about him.
Verlander is so cool. He is so calm and collected. Beltran is coming on contact on anything on the ground. The ball hits Verlander right on the leg, but once Verlander gets over to pick the ball up, he just kind of takes his time. He sets his feet and gives Avila a nice throw so he can brace himself for contact should Beltran had been entertaining the thought of trying to run him over.
Big play for the Tigers. That'll leave runners at first and third and keep the game a 1-0 contest. And here is Mitch Moreland. Moreland 0 for 2, strikeout, flyout. And Avila blocks it. holding Young at third base. One ball, one strike on Moreland. Spent the final 2 months of last year in the major leagues with Texas. Rangers had Justin Smoke, the first baseman, they dealt off. And he was one of their higher rated prospects, which opened up first base a little bit. That's way high, 2-1.
They had to give up Smoke to get Cliff Lee.
It was worth it.
Yes, from the Seattle Mariners.
Well, that Seattle team, man, they're having trouble hitting.
They're scuffling again.
They are. 215 team average. Driven to right field. Maglio back, turning, and that ball is over his head up against the wall. Young scores. To third base goes Cruz, and the Rangers have a 2-0 lead.
Well, it's just what Thad Bosley preached to his team when he was going over the scouting report on Verlander. He said he's a legitimate ace. He's a dominant pitcher. But if you hang around and you grind out some at-bats, you might get something to hit. That's an 87-mile-per-hour changeup in a 2-1 count, and sped the bat up of the youngster Moreland, and he drilled it off that wall in right field.
His third RBI of the year. That's going to bring Rick Knapp out. So a big-time add-on run here in the 7th inning to make it a 2-0 game.
They've got some length to their batting order. And guys like Andrews and Beltre, they're really not even hot yet. This offense is not clicking on all cylinders. They're hitting for power, but they're not getting a lot of base hits.
Well, our next April in the D telecast is tomorrow with the middle game of this series against Texas. Coverage begins at 12:30 with Tigers Live. It is then followed by the game at 1 o'clock. Tigers baseball presented by Bell Tire tomorrow afternoon right here on Fox Sports Detroit and Fox Sports Detroit HD as you look at your pitching matchup. Penny will be on the mound. The bender is in for a strike on Torrealba. 2-0 Texas. They score first here in the 7th inning. Check swing foul, and the count 0-2 on Yorvit Torrealba. RBIs in this inning to Moreland and Young. Missed it. Verlander's pitch count was 72 coming into this inning. It's now at 98. One and two on Torrealba, who steps out. Fly ball ground out for Torrealba. Torrealba has some postseason experience himself. 4 playoff teams. He's played on 2 World Series teams as well. We signed him to a free agent contract in November. Here's the 1-2. And Avila blocks another. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Verlander had given up just 1 hit through 6 innings. You mentioned just 72 pitches. But the 1-out walk started things here in the 7th inning for Josh Hamilton. This will be the 100th pitch of the afternoon now for Justin. And here it is. Bouncing ball back up the middle. Peralta ranging left. And that is that. So they send 7 men to the plate, score a couple of runs as we go to the stretch. Miguel Cabrera 2 for 2, including his 300th career double. The Rangers, with a couple of doubles, they lead the major leagues now with 42 extra base hits. And Alexi Ogando, no runs allowed in 12 innings as a starter this year, and now he has to go to work here in the 7th inning with the Tigers down 2-0. Rangers able to score first in this game. Ogando will face Ordonez, Cabrera, Martinez, so he's going to go right through the teeth of the Tigers lineup here. Maglio is 0 for 2, fly ball and a pop-up. Ogando's been extremely economical, 70 pitches through 6 innings.
For a guy that pitched the entire second half in the Texas bullpen last year, he's made the conversion to a starting pitcher look rather easy here to his first couple of starts.
Well, to kind of compare, in 6 innings of work against Seattle in his first start, he went 90 pitches. So a lot of quick outs. 0-2 on Ordonez. Popped him up. Shallow right field. Kinsler is called off, and Nelson Cruz makes the play. So both pitchers getting a lot of outs in the air today. 8 straight set down by Ogando. Here's Miguel Cabrera. Single and a double, both Tigers hits this afternoon. Ogando slings one outside, 1-0.
Well, Ogando can afford to go after Cabrera here. He's got a 2-run spread late in the game.
He's got 11 fly ball outs. Here's the 1-0. Located beautifully there. 1 ball, 1 strike. Cabrera's average up to 394. Two and one. Got in on his hands and he popped it up. Kinsler to the grass, 2 gone.
That's what you have to do to Miguel if you're going to have success getting him out. It's a breaking ball that backed up on Ogando. You could see Torrealba wanted that ball outside, but it ended up inside, and Cabrera not able to get to it.
So with 2 outs, here's Victor Martinez. Both of these pitchers today have had long streaks. I mean, Verlander at one point had retired 10 straight. And Ogando now has retired 9 straight.
Tigers had the best chance of scoring the last time Victor was up. They had 2nd and 3rd and 1 out, and he lined in shallow, short, I guess, and it ended up being a double play.
This time he rolls it to first base, and Ogando's going to have himself a 1-2-3 inning. The Tiger bats remain silent. 10 straight retired by Alexi Ogando.
Were able to get to Verlander. Hamilton led off with a walk, and then Adrian Beltre followed with a single. Michael Young came to the dish with a couple of runners on base and promptly lined a double to right field over the head of Maglio Ordonez and Mitch Moreland. The starting first baseman with 2 outs, he doubled also and drove in a run.
First pitch is bounced to second base. Will Rhymes gobbles it up, and Borbona's out, 1 away in the 8th. Changes for the Tigers. Maglio is out of the game. Rayburn takes over in left field. And that will push Bosch over to right field.
I believe this Texas Rangers pitching staff, they twirled a shutout yesterday in Baltimore.
They did. Against a good hitting Orioles team. So the pitching continues to be one of their major stories this year, and it has continued today. Tigers no runs, 2 hits. They beat Baltimore 3-0 yesterday. Ian Kinsler 0 for 3. No balls, 2 strikes on Kinsler.
Well, Kinsler here, he's one of those guys that just likes to pull the baseball no matter what the count is.
I don't believe he went. He did not. Close, though.
It's a nice job there by Avila, really expanding the strike zone, getting well outside, knowing that Kinsler will chase a pitch. It's one of the few sliders that Verlander has thrown here today. Doesn't throw many sliders. Mostly fastballs, changeups, and curveballs. Every now and then he will throw you a slider, though.
Little pop up back a second. That's going to fall off the end of the bat of Kinsler.
Hey fans, you can follow the Tigers with MLB.com at bat 11 app for your phone, iPad, Android, and BlackBerry. Get live audio, pitch by pitch tracking, video highlights, and more. Text at bat to 31826 or visit Tigers.com for more details.
1 on, 1 away. Elvis Andrus. For 3 today for Andrus. He had a stretch earlier in this year in which he had gone 0 for 14 at the beginning of the season. That's kept his average low. Andrus right now at 194. Chop to the third baseman. Inge off to his left. Fires to second one. And it throws the goal. Pulled him off the bag, but a tag play. Nice job by Cabrera. And they get the double play. 5-4-3. Andrus can't believe it. Take another look as we go to break. Nothing as we go to the bottom of the 8th inning here at Comerica Park. And don't forget, Western Conference quarterfinals kick off Game 1 on Wednesday at 7 o'clock right here on Fox Sports Detroit. Games 1 and 2 will be in Detroit before the series shifts out to the Valley in Phoenix. And the Red Wings hopefully on their way to another opportunity to win the Stanley Cup. There's the entire lineup for the Red Wings and Coyotes. Quarterfinal action. We have a new pitcher on now for the Texas Rangers, and he's been around a while, so all-side windows pitching change. Here's Darren Oliver.
And he's off to a really good start, and one of the reasons why that bullpen is pretty good at the back end. 1.93 earned run average. The opponents hitting just a bucket some change against the veteran Darren Oliver.
Austin Jackson has picked up a bat, so he will pinch hit. A bat for Don Kelly. So not a full day off for Jackson. Rangers have a couple of guys in their bullpen that have been around a little bit.
And both guys are pitching at the back end of the bullpen for Ron Washington. 20 seasons for Rose, 18 seasons for Oliver.
And still getting it done.
Have left arm will travel.
And both with solid resumes. So we'll see Oliver here in the 8th inning. We're also told that Ogando had a blister. So that may be part of the reason he's out of the game. By the way, this copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Detroit Tigers and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Detroit Tigers. So Oliver continues to warm up, and as we told you, a blister on the finger of Ogando, and here are his final numbers.
He looked awfully good. Only gave up 2 hits, and both of those hits came courtesy of Miguel Cabrera, but no one else could really do anything against Alexi Ogando.
So Oliver just about ready to go, but we have enough time to tell you that you can vote for your Tigers McDonald's Player of the Game, presented by the Quarter Pounder with Cheese. Using your cell phone, text Tigers followed by a space, then the player's uniform number to 37338, or you can vote online at foxsportsdetroit.com. Standard text rates apply, by the way. Here's Jackson. He's going to pinch hit for Don Kelly. 2-0 Texas. They've out hit the Tigers 5-2 today. Jackson, a native Texan, is hitting .317 career against the Rangers. Strike one on Austin. Peralta, then Avila. Line drive, base hit right field. Jackson starts it off with a single and takes an aggressive turn. That's great to see.
One of the better approaches that Jackson has had the last few days. That's one of the reasons why Jim gave him a mental day off at the start of this game. But he gets the front foot up and down, and when you get a firm front side on your front foot, you can generate some bat speed, and he took a really good path with his hands to get to the ball as well. It's a welcome sight for Tigers fans.
And here comes Johnny Peralta. By the way, we're also told that Maglio left the game with right Achilles tightness. Peralta strikeout and a ground ball. There's a strike called 1-1 on Peralta, who disagrees. Texas trying to hold on to a 2-0 lead. It's been a tight one all day. In the air toward right. Cruz is on the move, and he'll have room in foul ground. Peralta's out, one away. Here comes Alex Avila. Two for Alex, strikeout and a fly ball. Oliver has appeared in the postseason now in 5 consecutive years, and he's done it with 3 different teams, with the Mets, with the Angels, and last year with the Texas Rangers, the team that he broke in with a long time ago in the early 90s. Stays away from Avila. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Very trustworthy. If you're Mike Maddox, the pitching coach, Ron Washington, you know that. And most of the time when you call on Oliver, he's not going to beat himself. He's going to come in and throw some strikes.
Oliver has served both as a starter and a reliever in the big leagues. Just missed there. 2-1 on Avila.
Avila has really good plate discipline. More often than not, he finds himself hitting in pretty good counts. Fastball counts, so to speak.
Three and one.
Well, Texas has got a right-hander in their bullpen should Oliver lose. Alex Avila.
Three-one pitch. Swing and a miss. 3-2 on Avila.
And Ron Washington might go to the right-hander even if he gets Avila.
Inge up next. Tigers have only 3 hits today. Jackson's single here in the 8th and a couple of hits by Cabrera.
Boy, you wonder. Well, I don't think Jackson's running here 3-2, 1 out.
I was thinking too, but I don't think so.
Not going to get a good jump against the left-hander. And if Avila would strike out, Torrealba would have a pretty good opportunity throwing him out down at second.
He's holding, and it's swung out and missed.
Wise decision not to send Jackson.
Strikeout of Avila, and there are 2 gone. Bring up Brandon Inge. Inge is 0 for 2. And looks like he'll stay with the left-hander here.
Well, this is what you like in a veteran catcher in Torrealba. He's going to make sure that he goes out and he has a talk with Oliver about who's standing in the batter's box and the fact that Inge does have some power should you make a mistake on the inner third of the plate. It also gives you an idea of the trust factor for Ron Washington to leave Oliver into this game in the 8th inning. Game on the line. Wind blowing out at a pretty good pace to left field.
2 for 5 career against Oliver, and he stays outside and away 1-0. Brandon a strikeout and a bounce out in this game. Ogando went the first 7, retiring the last 10 batters that he faced, and gave way to Oliver here in the 8th. High fly ball right field, should get him out of the inning. Nelson Cruz is under it, and the side retired. Leadoff single is stranded. 8 in the books. Still 2-zip. The hill now in a 2-0 game. We go to the 9th inning. And one inning has been a killer for Verlander. That would be the 7th. Otherwise, 107 pitches in this game. Very economical in most innings. And now he's going to face Hamilton, Beltran, Young. Hamilton's been on base twice. Single, walk, run scored. And it was the walk that started the rally in the 7th. He eventually went on to get 2 runs. Jackson stays in the game to no one's surprise. He'll play center field. And Verlander missing outside 2-1.
I guess some at home may be asking themselves, why would Verlander be in this game? 107 pitches in, going into the 9th inning, trailing by 2. Without knowing for sure, I'm thinking that Jim Leyland is thinking that they're only down by a couple, as I mentioned, and they feel like they might be able to come back in this game if they don't give up any more runs.
They'll have the top of their lineup coming up. Swing and a miss, and Hamilton goes down on strikes. That's 4 strikeouts for Verlander.
He's thrown some really good pitches today to Hamilton.
Here's Beltre now, Adrian Beltre, who had a single in that 2-run 7th. Eight RBIs this year for Beltre. He drives this one foul.
Beltre was probably the last big free agent to sign in the offseason. And it was pretty good that he displayed some patience, because he really cashed in with a 5-year deal.
Here's the 1-1. Hit hard, but right at the shortstop. Actually, not all that hard. He kind of floated out there, and there are 2 gone. Well, they've got their closer warming up. He was dynamite last year.
American League Rookie of the Year. He had 40 saves.
You can debate who should have won the Rookie of the Year last season, whether it was Jackson or Feliz. I think both certainly were deserving. Here's Michael Young. Young 1 for 3 RBI double in the 7th inning. Here's the 1-1 pitch. Bouncing ball third base side, Inge behind the bag. Quick throw, gets away from Cabrera. It'll be backed up by Rhymes though, and Young is safe. Two-out base runner.
Brandon does a nice job of surrounding this baseball, but trying to get around the third base bag. He flips underneath, and Cabrera not able to come up with a pick.
It's a base hit. 2nd hit of the game for Young. And the 6th hit now for Texas as a team. And that's going to give Cruz another opportunity. And he drives one to left field on a line, but right at Ryan Rayburn to end the inning. So we're going to go to the bottom of the 9th. Got to get the bats going here. Need 2 runs. In this one, 2-0 is our score, and Neftali Feliz is on now to try and close this one out for the Rangers.
Well, he's picking up right where he left off last year. He has no blemish as far as the earned run average is concerned. 3 of 3 in saves, and the batting average against Neftali is under 100.
Nice. Here's some good news, though. Look at these numbers.
Yep.
2010 against Detroit, an ERA of 7.20. So Feliz will try and close this one down, and to do so, he's going to have to go through the top of the Tigers line. There's that Rookie of the Year voting. We kind of talked about this. I don't know where you fell on, which side of this fence you fell on, but Jackson and Feliz were both deserving.
Well, Texas got to the postseason. The Tigers did not. And that's why Feliz was the Rookie of the Year. And also one of the reasons why Cabrera finished second to Josh Hamilton for the MVP in the American League.
Will Rhymes will lead it off. Rhymes, Bosch, Rayburn. Rhymes in this game. A couple of fly balls. He's also bounced out. 1-0 on Will. Beltre tied at third. Feliz is only 22. He won't be 23 until May the 2nd. On the ground to the shortstop. Andrews backhanding, scooping it first, and a big pick there by Moreland. A nice play. 1 out.
Nothing like having a guy on the other side of the diamond if you're one of the participants of the left side of the infield that can really pick the ball and show the kind of patience and soft hands that Moreland displayed there. That's the key. Your hands have to be soft when picking the ball out of the dirt.
Well, here comes Bosch. Down he goes. Feliz last year saved 40 games in 43 opportunities for Texas on their way to the World Series. That one a tad too close for comfort.
The Texas Rangers entertained the thought of having Feliz be a part of their starting rotation in spring training. They stretched him out. He threw quite a few pitches. He was ready to start, and then they decided against it. It felt like he was just too valuable at the back end of the game.
I haven't read anything on his preference, but I wonder what it is. He may want to start. A lot of guys do, but boy, he had a lot of success pitching the ninth last year. Two balls, two strikes on Bosch.
People can say what they want, but it's hard to replace a guy that had the kind of success that Feliz had. 40 of 43 in the saves department.
More saves than a rookie ever. Next highest total was Kazuhiro Sasaki of Seattle, who saved 37 in the 2000 season. Here's the 2-2. Back out of play. Bosch had a walk back in the fourth. He's 0 for 2 officially. Only 3 Detroit hits today against his Texas pitching staff, which came in with the best ERA in the league. Oh, look at that pitch. Oh, my goodness. Down goes Bosch.
He flipped the breaking ball up there at 78 miles an hour.
2 outs. That's going to leave it up to Rayburn. Rayburn getting his first at bat, and he looks at strike 1. We talked about the Rangers staff giving up just 3 hits in this game. The opponents came in batting just 199 against Texas pitching. So their early season success based on their staff continues here today, at least to this point. Rayburn backs out of there, 1-1. Need a base runner right now to bring that guy up there. Miguel Cabrera, who could tie it up with 1 swing. One and 2. Feliz is just so methodical out there. He just carves you up.
And he had a fastball that was anywhere from 95 to 98 miles an hour last year, but he is not throwing that hard here today. 94 right there.
2-2 on Ryan Rayburn.
He's not a big guy either. Not big by any stretch of the imagination.
6'3", 215.
Doesn't look like he's 6'3", standing on that mound.
Outside, 3-2. Crowd begging for something to cheer about, and they would get into this thing if Cabrera came to the plate as the tying run. 18,724 in attendance here today. And the 3-2. 94 again from Feliz. Think about that trade that Texas made with Mark Teixeira, and you get back Feliz, you get back Andrews as 2 of the players in that deal.
You can turn your organization around.
No question. 2 impact all-star type players. It's down. Extra bases to the wall it goes. Rayburn puts together a good at bat, and he keeps this thing going.
If you're Ron Washington, the manager of the Texas Rangers, you went from feeling real comfortable to not feeling all that comfortable right now.
To say the least.
Tremendous at bat by Ryan Rayburn. He worked the count to 3-2. He climbed the ladder and got on top of a mid-90s fastball and was able to hit it in the right center field. Most right-handed hitters don't climb the ladder that well and get on top of fastballs with that kind of velocity.
So that'll bring up Cabrera, who has homered against Feliz last April. And a long ball here would tie it up. It's only the 2nd Tigers runner in scoring position this afternoon. There are the numbers. 1 for 3 with a home run against Feliz. Big time matchup here with the game on the line. Good at bat by Rayburn to keep this thing alive. Ain't gonna happen though.
Oh.
They're gonna put the time run on.
Oh.
They're gonna walk him intentionally.
Ron Washington told me before the game he would not let Cabrera beat him, but he is not going to allow Cabrera to even tie the score.
32 intentional walks last year, and Cabrera gets a free pass here. Ron Washington will put the tying run on here with 2 outs in the 9th. And they'll take their chances against Victor Martinez. They have this swing fresh in his mind from last year. He went the other way in Arlington. So Cabrera gets the intentional walk, and that's going to bring up Victor Martinez. Martinez facing Feliz for just the 2nd time in his career, 1-for-1 against him. That wind howling out toward left field. Ron Washington decides we're not going to let this guy tie the game. Now they'll take their chances against the left-handed batting Victor Martinez. Breaking ball missed. 1-0. Inning was kept alive by Rayburn's double to right and the intentional walk to Cabrera. Victor today is 0-for-3 with a double play ball. The 1-0 missed outside. 2 balls and no strikes.
Bourbon playing much deeper now. No doubles depth is the way that they're lining up on the infield and the outfield. The outfield very deep. First base hugging the line in case they're trying to protect themselves against a double.
There's a big 2-0 pitch coming. And a bouncing ball to the right side. Kinsler has it, should do it, and it does.
Gutsy move by Ron Washington, but it turns out to be the right move for his club.
And so, as a result, the Rangers win it here today. Game 1 of the series goes to Texas, 2-0, despite Verlander's effort. Back with more.